that. So let's go to Chris from Farmington, Massachusetts. And Chris has a very, very common problem. He wants to know, how do you approach a green pool? Well, first of all, very cautiously, right?
That's right. In the dark helps too.
In the dark. This is a very common problem, Chris, is green algae. You had some numbers that we were talking about earlier on what a customer's or the percentage is.
Yeah, some algae blooms are worse than others, but in most instances in a backyard swimming pool, and it doesn't matter what geographic area we're talking about, it's usually about 84%-ish of backyard pools are going to get 2 algae blooms a year. Some can be severe, some can be minor, but you will have the problem at least twice on average. Some people get it weekly and they're just used to it. So there's a better way to do it. So let's talk about it and help Chris out in Massachusetts there.
Yeah, we have a very unique approach to when a customer comes in and says they have an algae problem. Different than maybe some other companies that you may have shopped with where they love it when you get algae because they can sell you a ton of products. Well, we don't ever want you to get algae again. So our approach is to kill it, clear it, and then prevent it. So let me take you through that process. If you have green or mustard algae or yellow algae, we're going to recommend that you use this in your pool along with our strongest shock we have available, which is power powder. So we'll talk about these in just a little bit. But it's important for you to understand maybe the steps for a guaranteed algae removal.
Absolutely.
And the number one step that you've got to do in the removal of algae, besides coming to see us for some help, is to get that filter clean.
Absolutely. And if anybody's watching out there right now that's experiencing this or is concerned about this, I strongly advise that you take some notes because I have a feeling Jim's going to get real detailed and tell you exactly how to remedy this problem.
Yeah, I don't want to get too nerdy on you, but I might because this process is actually pretty fascinating.
He just can't help it.
I can't help it. Clean filter. Depending on how bad the algae bloom is, your filter may be required to do a lot. So let's get it all nice and clean. So when you come into a Leslie store, that's where we start the process. We want to identify what kind of filter you have. Are you comfortable taking care of it? Do you understand it? Because that is the number one step, is to begin with a clean filter. Now, the second step is it's important for you to understand just how important circulation is during this process.
So crucial, so crucial.
We're going to tell you to turn that pump on and don't turn it off until you are satisfied with the clarity of your pool.
Absolutely.
We think this is going to be about a 36-hour process. At least that's what we're striving for. Some pools may take a little bit longer because you really had a swamp, and some pools might recover a little bit quicker because it was not as bad as we think. But circulation is very, very key. So a nice clean filter, turn that pump on and begin circulating it. Now at this point too, if you brought us a sample of water, which we encourage all of our customers to do whenever you visit a Leslie's pool store.
Always take advantage, take advantage.
Remind yourself, I'm going to Leslie's, I'm going to bring them a sample of water. I don't mind sampling or doing a test for your water every day, but we do encourage that you at least bring your water in twice a month for your regular water test. I don't necessarily need a water test though to fight this algae issue. But if you did bring me a sample of water, what I'll be looking for is where your pH is at. And also where your chlorine levels are at as well, but in particular where that pH is at. This kill it process that we're going through works best in a high pH environment. So a water test would confirm whether or not we would need to add soda ash, or are you fine already? But again, if you didn't bring us a sample of water, I'm going to assume then we need to increase your pH. So I may recommend a little bit of soda ash. So if you have it at home, use it. If you don't, I'm going to sell it to you. Now, clean filter, pump on, pH is in the right chemistry.
We're ready to roll.
We are ready to roll. So we picked out our most powerful shock, Power Powder Plus, 73% available chlorine, the strongest on the market. And then I picked out a bottle that is the same color as the algae in your pool. This is really no secret now at this point. These are the same product. We do market it to appeal to your need to fight a certain color algae. But, you know, if we're out of one of these products on the shelf, trust the store manager, the team member that says, you know, well, you can use this and it'll do the same job. But since you've got green algae, we'll focus on the green to clean. So what have we done now? We've cleaned that filter, right, which is really important. We've got that pump on and running, and we will not turn it off until this process is done, and we've got a right pH environment.
That's right.
Now I'm going to ask you how old your brush is, right? So if you have a really old brush, I'm going to tell you, make this the last thing that old brush does. And that's brush up anything that might be hiding on you. Brush that up into the pool water and then throw away that brush.
Yeah, it's the green pool swan song for that brush. It's time to go.
Yeah, thank you, brush. Appreciate that. Off to the garbage, and I'll show you a really cool brush on the way out that you can use for regular maintenance after that. All right, well, now here comes the fun chemistry, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the green to clean, and we're going to recommend a certain amount based on the size of your pool.
Very crucial, very crucial. You get your dosages right. Very crucial.
Yeah, so 2-pounder, 4-pounder. 2-pounders for pools up to 15,000, and then I'll recommend a 4-pounder for pools larger than that 15,000-gallon pool. So if I sold you a 2 or a 4-pounder, then we're also going to sell you equal amounts of shock. These two work together in partnership to form what's called a monochloramine. This actually has ammonia in it. The algae in your pool thinks the ammonia is fertilizer, but it's also got chlorine attached to it, and we call that a monochloramine. And that's what these two do when they get together.
Think of this as a Trojan horse that's going to get inside of that living algae bloom, and it's literally going to kill it from the inside.
Let's fool that algae, right? So Trojan horse. Building the Trojan horse is put this in, 5 minutes later, put equal amounts of your power powder shock in, and then watch what happens. The formation of chloramine is actually kind of fascinating to watch. You'll actually see this chemical reaction. Don't be afraid. This is what's supposed to happen. You will see your pool turn white, agitate, bubble. It's working.
That's not a bad thing. It's progress.
It is progress, and it's fun to watch. Now what do? You wait 12 hours. That's pretty easy, right?
I can do that all day.
So 12 hours. What we're letting your pool do now is for 12 hours, we're fooling that chlorine and or fooling that algae with this chloramine. And what that algae is now doing is it's consuming what it thinks is fertilizer, but then is killing. It's dying in the process. So 12 hours later, what we need to do is remove those chloramines through oxidation. So 12 hours later, we're going to have you put in the equal amounts of power powder that you did on the first day. This begins that oxidizing process where we can remove the chloramines that fooled your algae on day one.
So we're literally going to chemically burn out the bad stuff. I mean, that's what we're doing.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, we're burning the bad stuff out. Now what do? 12 hours. That's easy to do. Let's wait 12 hours. 12 hours later, you're probably left with no chlorine. I mean, if we did our job right on that second day of oxidation, then we probably don't have a lot of chlorine left in the pool. So that's what the third dose is for, is to reestablish that free available chlorine. Now at this point too, we begin the clearing process. So we set up the pool with a clean filter, pump circulating. We're not going to turn it off until we're done. A pH environment that lets this chemistry work. The formation of chloramines. Then we oxidized it. And now it's time for the clear it.
Yes, and this is a specific step that is best done with the Natural Chemistry and Leslie's co-branded product, Clear Aid. What this is going to do, we've taken the pool, we've done these steps, and we've killed the algae bloom. So we've gone from green, growing plant in the water. We've killed it from inside. We've blown it up. It's spilled out its guts, and the water has gone from green to usually a cloudy color, and that's where we're at in this process. Clear Aid is going to do two things. We're going to add this product to your body of water as it's prescribed in the kill it process, and we're going to see a result happen fairly quick in about a 24-hour window. But what happens is we're going to take all that dead botanical matter, all that what was once that living algae bloom that's just floating in there making your water look hazy and cruddy. We're going to take those small particles and they're going to stick together because of something in here called an organic polymer. Now those particles are going to stick together and congeal and become bigger and bigger and bigger so they can be filtered out, and they're not left just suspended in the water. We're displacing them. Now there's a phase 2 to this technology that actually incorporates a broad spectrum enzyme. And what it does is it's going to find specific types of organics, in this case non-living organics. It's going to attach to them and speed up the biodegradation process that occurs in nature by hundreds of thousands of times. It's very similar to the same technologies that they use in the ocean when there's an oil spill. It's called a dispersant. But that's what we're doing. We're going to grab a hold of these big clumps of dead plant and get it out of your pool. And by get it out of your pool, we're literally going to dissolve it or break it back into water and air. So cool. That's what Clear Aid does. It's in whatever isn't broken down, which will be very little, is going to be displaced and captured on the filter. That's why it's so key to start with a clean filter, because then we can catch it and get it out of there for good. So this Clear Aid is literally going to grab the bad stuff that's floating in there, making your pool ugly, make it stick together, and then break it down, turning it back into water and air. It's also non-toxic. This is technically a natural product, so use it with confidence, please. And that's the second step in the Clear It.
Now at this point too, you're going to be looking at your filter pressure. This is if I'm not mistaken, it also is somewhat of a filter aid.
For sure.
In that it is dissolving a lot of those things that would have found its way onto the filter.
That's right.
Anyway.
Not only is it breaking the bad stuff down in the water, anything captured on your filter, which is going to be a significant amount, is also going to be biodegraded or broken down inside the filter as well. So it's going to perpetually clean the water as well as the filter. So it's a great point to make.
Yeah, and I specialize in making pool care easy, and that's one of the nice things is we're at the point now where we need to clean the filter, and this does such a good job that now cleaning my filter will be a lot easier.
Now, one thing I do want to add, do not proceed to this step in using this product until you have verified that your chlorine level is down below 5 parts per million. We're dealing with extremely high quality chlorine right here. I believe this is 73%.
Yeah.
This is not stuff that you would get at a big box store. This is as high of a concentration and the best premium chlorine as you're going to find. So make sure after doing the third step of the kill, before you proceed with Clear Aid, to make sure, just to set it up and make sure it works as well as it can and what it's designed to do, that chlorine level is down below 5 parts per million. Other than that, you are off to the races.
That's a good point, because one bag of this in 10,000 gallons of water will raise it to 9 parts per million. So there will be a
through the roof.
There'll be a period of time where you'll want to let your pool maybe cook in that environment before we add the clear. So if you need some help on testing your free available chlorine and when it's time to start the clearing process, come see us. We always do those tests for free.
Absolutely.
But we also encourage our customers to have their own form of water testing at home for just these events.
Yep.
All right, so now you've got a clean filter. You've cleaned it for the second time. And we are really now encouraging you to get on our algae-free program, because we've just spent a lot of time killing it. We've now cleared it up, and we have released the bad guy into the water. And that's what I wanted is the bad guy, the phosphates, to be released back in the water so that we can put you on an algae-free program. So this is all roads lead to this.
That's right. Now that we've remedied your problem, we've got your ugly green pool, we've moved it to a cloudy pool, we've cleared it up. Now where are you at? A lot of people stop right there and think that they've solved the issue, but all you've really done is killed a symptom that happens because of a bigger root problem, and that's going to be phosphates. And that's really the beauty of the second technology in the Perfect Weekly. What we've done is we've killed a living algae bloom. In doing so, we've released its internal components, what it has absorbed to be able to grow to get to that point that it was. One of those things is called phosphate. Now, phosphate comes from everywhere in this environment. It's an element. It's number 15 on the periodic table. It's not harmful to us. It's actually a good thing. Plants grow because of phosphate. But guess what? When a little bit of phosphate gets into your pool, it pollutes it. Phosphate is a pollutant in a swimming pool. It's not going to harm us, but it's going to get in there. When there's enough of it, it's going to fuel algae growth. And that's when we can interfere or break up that cycle of phosphate contamination and get the phosphates out of there. So you kill an algae bloom if you have it, you clear it up, you have your water tested professionally at a Leslie store. They determine your phosphate level. You get on a program, a once-a-week maintenance program, and the technology here in Perfect Weekly will take that phosphate out, and it essentially creates an environment where you cannot have that problem ever again, because we're taking the food, the one thing that algae absolutely has to have, out of your swimming pool so it cannot grow, and it's scientifically backed up. It's a very, very strong guarantee, and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Leslie's is the only one that's out there throwing this out with a written guarantee that if you're on the system, you will not get algae. So Chris in Farmington, Mass, solve your problem. You never have to look in the rearview mirror. You will not get algae again if you get on this program.
Awesome. And thank you so much for that question, Chris. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.